A single question about Yagmur Yüksel sent sparks flying around Baris' Baktas, and a quiet room suddenly felt like a live wire. Welcome to Turkish series stars. Before we dive in, remember to subscribe and support the channel so you never miss the twists, the whispers, and the moments everyone will be discussing tomorrow. Now, let's get into the storm that started with one sentence and turned the entertainment world on its head. It began at a press junket for Baris' new drama, where cameras caught him standing beside his co-star and former partner, Yagmur. The two looked effortlessly composed, exchanging calm smiles as microphones crowded closer. Then came the question, delivered in an oh-so-casual tone that masked its sting. They were being compared again, not just as colleagues, but to the version of themselves who once loved loudly in front of the world. The air grew tight. Baris' jaw set for a heartbeat, his eyes flickered with that familiar blend of patience and pushback, and then he answered in a way that made timelines ignite. "All I value now is what feels genuine," he said, voice measured but firm. "Looks are a matter of opinion. I won't put one version of someone against another." It was calm. It was controlled. And it detonated the moment it landed. Within minutes, social media boiled over with takes, theories, and screenshots. One short reply, 1,000 interpretations. That's the power Baris has had for years. He barely has to raise his voice to become the center of the conversation. But this time the reaction felt different, thicker with history, because the name on everyone's mind was Yagmur. That single idea, authenticity, took on a life of its own. Did he mean it as a shield for Yagmur? A message to anyone poking at their past? Or a broader philosophy that had nothing to do with old headlines? Those who have followed Baris closely recognized the long arc behind those words. In the last couple of years he's stripped his life down to the essentials, training at sunrise, meditating by the sea, vanishing into long hikes when the city's noise gets heavy. That shift didn't come from nowhere. It's a lifestyle that has tuned his answers. He isn't playing the game of easy comparisons anymore, and you could hear that in the way he sidestepped the bait. Still, the question carried weight for a reason. Because when you say genuine in a room that remembers every red carpet, every campaign, every cover story, especially the ones featuring Yagmur, the word doesn't sit quietly. It reverberates. For years, she has been an image-maker's dream, poised, radiant, capable of reinventing herself across styles and scripts. She went from rising actress to brand ambassador to an omnipresent force on screens big and small. With each evolution, the spotlight tightened, with each new look, opinions multiplied. Some adored her polished glow. Others said they missed the unfussy, early days sparkle. Put that backdrop next to Baris' comment, and suddenly authentic sounded like a thesis, whether he meant it that way or not. If you watched the clip, you saw the moment stretch. The room fell into a hush right after the question landed, the kind of silence that's louder than chatter. Baris offered a small smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, then gave the answer that would keep trends humming all day. Beside him, Yagmur tilted her head, a little half-smile playing at the corner of her lips, the picture of composure. She didn't jump in, didn't let her expression reveal much, but you could almost feel that shared understanding between them. Here we go again. It wasn't anger at each other. It was the fatigue that comes from being forced to relive an old chapter whenever a new one is about to begin. The second part of what he said also landed with precision. Beauty, he hinted, is subjective, it bends depending on who's looking. Translation. Opinions vary, but personal energy matters more to him than any aesthetic scoreboard. When you strip away the noise, it sounded like a man drawing a boundary. He wasn't comparing the past to the present, nor was he interested in joining in when others did. In an industry that feasts on surface-level contrasts, that's a bold refusal. What happened next was as predictable as it was explosive. Timelines filled with clips, rewinds, and screen-grabbed captions. Some wrote that he still hadn't closed the door on that old emotion. Others insisted he was simply being gracious, refusing to let anyone pit versions of a person against one another. A third wave shouted that the entire question was a trap. Defenders of Baris said he'd been dignified. Admirers of Yagmur called for respect, reminding everyone how much work she's put into her craft. Through it all, one truth persisted: everyone was talking about them again. Behind the scenes, the rumored whisper was that Yagmur kept her cool in private, too. To trusted friends, she supposedly confided, "I'm not here to be compared to anyone, not even to myself from years ago. I'm my own voice." Those words fit the way she's been carrying herself lately, less interested in debate, more focused on the work. On set, crew members talk about her mix of ease and meticulousness. Next to Baris' steady, quietly intense energy, she offsets the frame in a way that's hard to miss. The pairing looks balanced, which is probably why viewers keep projecting stories onto them, yesterday's love story bleeding into today's professional partnership. Speaking of the set, the buzz around their new series has been wild. Early footage suggests a chemistry that crackles without trying, the kind that keeps editors spoilt for choice because almost every take feels like a keeper. The show's title, Kıvılcım, says it all: a spark that can light everything up or burn it down. In behind-the-scenes snippets, you can see them trading jokes between takes, resetting their marks like a second language, forming an unspoken rhythm that only comes from people who've been through something together. It's respect, it's fun, it's discipline, and yes, it looks a lot like two people who know how to hold a scene without letting it hold them hostage. Still, the past follows them like a shadow cast by a street lamp at night, longer than you expect. Some bonds refuse to fade neatly. Even when two people close a door, echoes remain. Perhaps that's what everyone sensed in Baris' words, a man refusing to reduce a person he cares about to a headline. Maybe he was simply pushing the conversation toward what matters to him now: truthfulness, presence, the feeling that what you see on screen is anchored to what's real off camera. It's not just an answer, it's a philosophy. And lately, it's showing up everywhere in his life. Scroll through his recent posts and you'll notice a pattern. Coastal sunrises. Training sessions that look more like rituals than workouts. Long, silent walks where the only caption is a breath. In one interview, he admitted that the quiet does more for him than any packed party ever could. In that context, the word authentic isn't an arrow. It's a compass. It doesn't point to or away from anyone in particular, it points inward. Of course, tabloids don't live on nuance. Some editors slapped dramatic headlines on the clip: Baris throws shade or new era, old wounds. Others offered the opposite spin: he draws a line, moves on with grace. The press mirrored the audience, divided, enthralled, endlessly clicking. Whatever the angle, the outcome was the same. The names at the center did not leave the conversation all day. And what about Yagmur's response? Publicly, none. No press statement, no interview. But on the day the clip went viral, she posted a photograph that felt like a deep breath. A minimal shot, sun on her face, little makeup, the kind of candid frame that looks more like a moment than an advertisement. Was it a message? Maybe. Maybe not. That's the genius and the curse of their visibility: everything becomes a clue, even when it's just a sunny afternoon. Fans split into familiar camps. One group believes the story between them is far from over, that the universe keeps pushing them into the same frame for a reason. The other says the past should be left where it is and that clean slates deserve a chance to stay clean. But if you've ever loved watching them, you felt it, an old chord, plucked again, resonating underneath the noise. Whether it leads anywhere is anyone's guess. What matters for now is that the feeling is undeniably alive in the culture. This is the strange mathematics of fame: one sentence can multiply into endless narratives. When Baris insisted that what feels real matters more than any beauty contest, he probably meant to diffuse a situation, not escalate it. But that's not how these things work. When two people have a history this vivid, every syllable becomes a magnifying glass. We, the gossip faithful, trace every contour, write 100 mini-stories, and wait for the next hint that will let us choose which ending we prefer. So, what do you think? Was Baris setting a boundary to protect the work and the person standing beside him, or was there a deeper layer, a note aimed at an old melody? Did the word authentic reveal anything new, or did it simply remind us why this duo still pulls so much attention whenever they share a frame? The only sure thing is that you'll hear more. The series will premiere. The interviews will continue. The questions will come back, recycled in fresh packaging, daring them to flinch. And if history is any guide, they will keep choosing poise over provocation, work over rumor, presence over pettiness. You've been watching Turkish series Stars. If you enjoyed the deep dive and want more insider stories told with heart, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next moment everyone will be arguing about. Drop your thoughts below. Are we witnessing a careful truce with the past, or the beginning of a story that refuses to end? Either way, we'll be here, watching the sparks, waiting for the scene that makes everything make sense.